Speaking on Sunrise, the panel discussed Meghan's latest battle with Associated Newspapers and its appeal process. The presenters remarked a lot of dirty laundry was being aired, with Ms Mollard invited to give the lowdown on events. She told the program, "Look, I think that there's a massive twist. I mean, some commentators are saying that this is really the end of Meghan's credibility." Radio presenter Cristo Foufas appeared on Jeremy Vine on 5 and argued the Sussexes are allegedly losing their credibility day after day. Ms Mollard continued, "So what's happened is we know that Mail on Sunday has challenged the court ruling that they breached her privacy. There's new text messages between her and her former communications secretary which show two things. One, that she contributed to the Finding Freedom book, and secondly that she asked her communications secretary to help her write the letter she wrote to her father, which is the basis of this case." Ms Mollard added Meghan was concerned the letter would be leaked, so edited the language used to pull at the heartstrings if made public. The Australian reporter said it was very manipulative to write to her father knowing it may be made public. Ms Mollard theorised Meghan TMS ratings were likely very low at the moment, and said it was not what the Queen would like to see as she rests due to health issues. Women's rights activist Dr Shola Mos Shogbamimu defended Meghan, and said it made zero difference to the privacy claim that she won. Writing in The Independent, she said, "The question in the latest faux outrage about Meghan is not whether she loses credibility for not informing the High Court that her former Comms Secretary, Jason Knauf, provided some information for the unauthorised biography, Finding Freedom, to authors Omid, Scobie and Carolyn Durand, with her knowledge. No, the only question is whether this would have made a difference to the outcome of the privacy claim she won against Associated Newspapers Limited, publisher of the Mail on Sunday. The fact is it should make zero difference." Associated Newspapers launched an appeal against the High Court TMS summary judgment on Meghan Markle TMS privacy case against them. It meant the case did not go to full trial, which would have allowed the publishers to get into the nuances of their case. However, during their appeal process, a former aide to the Sussexes Jason Knauf testified that he was given permission to brief the authors of Finding Freedom. The Sussexes have repeatedly stated they had nothing to do with the book and have tried to distance themselves from it. Mr. Knauf also showed messages which saw Meghan asking if she should edit her language in a letter written to her father, expecting it to be leaked. Associated Newspapers claim Meghan wrote the letter accepting the public would read it and therefore had no issue of it being made public. Meghan apologised to the court following the testimony and claims she forgot about briefing her staff. Speaking to Sky News, Calvin Robinson said it was absolutely shocking that the couple continues to use their titles, despite being political. He said, "We saw, only this week, they were at an event and they introduced themselves as royalty. The royal family need to say, if you TMRE going to be political, if you TMRE going to keep selling yourselves to Netflix and Disney and all of the Hollywood industry, you need to take away the titles trademark. It TMS not just a British institution, it TMS a global institution. I think we TMRE all being pulled down by Meghan Markle TMS plan to become the most famous princess in the world." When Meghan and Harry stepped back from royal duties at the start of last year, the agreement with the Queen was that the couple would formally retain their titles, but they would no longer use their HRH titles. Asked, should the couple use their royal titles for business or political purposes? 73% in the UK and 59% in the US said they should stop. However, in Britain, people were divided when asked whether the couple should be able to keep their titles. Almost half of UK respondents, 48%, believe the couple should be stripped of their titles compared to a third, 33%, in the US. Earlier this month, the Duchess of Sussex faced controversy after she used her royal title to sign off a letter to Congress, lobbying them for paid parental leave. In her overtly political letter, she said, "No family should have to choose between earning a living and having the freedom to take care of their child, or a loved one, or themselves, as we would see with a comprehensive paid leave plan. In taking care of your child, you take care of your community, and you take care of your country, because when paid leave is a right, we recreating a foundation that helps address mental health outcomes, health care costs, and economic strength at the starting line. Instead, as it stands now, we spend a fortune as a country paying into symptoms rather than causes. Paid leave should be a national right, rather than a patchwork option limited to those whose employers have policies in place, or those who live in one of the few states where a leave program exists. If we going to create a new era of family-first policies, let TMS make sure that includes a strong paid leave program for every American that TMS guaranteed, accessible, and encouraged without stigma or penalty. She also drew criticism for using her royal title when making a series of cold calls to US politicians to lobby for the policy. Meanwhile, earlier in November, the 40-year-old royal was mocked on social media for introducing herself with her name and her title at a children's book reading. Introducing herself, she said, "I am Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and today I am going to read you my book called The Bench." However, the Duchess has defended her decision to lobby for paid parental leave, describing it as a humanitarian issue. Speaking at a New York Times event, she said, "There TMS certainly a precedent amongst my husband TMS family and the royal family of not having any involvement in politics, but paid leave, from my standpoint, is a humanitarian issue. My husband has always said, with great privilege comes great responsibility, but even before I had any sort of privilege in my life, when my life and my lifestyle were very different, I always stood up for what TMS right," she added. Buckingham Palace announced Her Majesty has sprained her back and was disappointed that she would miss the annual service, but some fear there is more to the story. Piers Morgan took to Twitter to share his concerns, saying that it might be more of a serious situation than is being made by palace officials, and there's something we're not being told about her health. Prince Harry's intervention on misinformation and social media was met with a backlash this week. The Duke of Sussex spoke out about misinformation as a global humanitarian crisis during the Rewired conference in New York. Historian and royal expert Dr. Tessa Dunlop told Palace Confidential that it was time for Harry to take a step back. She said, "In relation to Harry and Meghan, and this torturous toing and froing with social media, I agree they need to take a step back. They clearly spending way too long scrolling. There seems to be ambiguity around his messaging. I am fond of him and I think he could be better advised to steer clear of big issues like the First Amendment when it comes to social media." Daily Mail TMS royal editor Rebecca English told Palace Confidential that Harry's speech turned into one of his predictably boring and pedestrian diatribes about the media. The Daily Mail TMS diary editor Richard Eden echoed this, "As always with Harry and Meghan, they say things that leave you very confused afterwards." He pointed to Harry's claim about Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. During his speech, the Duke said that he messaged Twitter TMS CEO to warn him that his platform was being used to plot a coup ahead of the 6th of January attack on the US Capitol. The Prince was speaking as part of a panel at Rewired TMS 2021 conference that examined how misinformation on social media spreads lies, hatred and propaganda. Mr. Eden said, he was sort of suggesting it was from his monitoring of social media, but they previously said that they are boycotting social media. Sometimes it TMS quite hard to keep up. Rob Rinder responded to the Duke's remarks on misinformation by pointing out that he signed a deal with Netflix, which spreads misinformation about the royal family with the Crown series. On Good Morning Britain this week, Mr. Rinder said, "I want to be clear, I like Meghan and Harry, her views might not be your cup of tea, fair enough. But my question is, if he's worried about misinformation, what about the fact him and Meghan have taken a huge deal from Netflix and the misinformation about his late mother, Lady Diana, and they've taken millions of pounds? How is that okay? How is that consistent, or not misinformation?"